Today, we will learn the secrets of day trading with premium and discount zones. We will start with the explanation of premium and discount zones and the best possible trade entries. Secondly, we will talk about gameplay boxes, how to determine our gameplay boxes to short or long. Finally, we will see trade practices, entries, targets, and how to avoid stop hunts from the market maker. Okay friends, we will discuss our 7th price action concept, premium and discount trading. This will be a detailed cover of zone trading. I also publish study documents on Google Drive for free if you are interested. Now let's start. First of all, let's remember what the premium and discount zones were. When a market structure break-off structure happens, it creates tradable zones. What you do is simply draw a Fibonacci or gain box tool from the most significant low to the most significant high. This gives us tradable zones. The upper part is called the premium zone, which is where the price is expensive. This is where the early buyers take profit or look for short opportunities. The bottom part is where the price is cheap to buy. This is the area for buyers to find good deals with discounted prices, or short traders close their positions. The middle point is called EQ, or balance point. You can easily say this is the fair price of the product. Since we have already learned a lot from the previous video, let's move on. The TradingView tool that I use is called Gain Box. These are my current settings for the tool. It may change in the future. However, this clearly shows me the premium and the discount zones. Let's learn about gameplay. Gameplay boxes are special zones that I determine with the high time frames before trading. What I do is, once I determine the high time frame gameplay boxes, I keep trading the price action inside the box with the low time frames. I day trade or scalp these boxes. Okay, the first step is determining the high time frame market structure. Are we on a bullish or bearish trend? The second step is drawing my premium and discount zones. Gameplay boxes should be from premium to discount or discount to premium. Then we have to identify the possible price action structures that can move the price from one side to another. What are these? It could be imbalance to imbalance, order block to order block, or imbalance to order block. Any obvious price action structures. Later on, we will learn how to trade these gameplay boxes. Since I get so many requests for Forex examples, today we will look at the USD Japanese yen pair from my backtesting archives. As you can easily notice, price keep making lower lows in a strong downtrend. With the last strong and high quality break-off structure, I draw my premium and discount zones with the gain box tool. You can obviously notice the two giant imbalances. So I determine my gameplay box area. This is where I'll be trading. When the time comes, I'll be taking so many trades in low time frames. I'm gonna scalp or day trade for many days, unlimited trade opportunities. We will get back to this example, let's move on. Let's talk about the best entries with the low time frames inside the gameplay box. Now, first of all, I do not have so much interest in the discount zones if I'm shorting the asset. I do not care if it has the biggest order block or imbalance. Of course, I'm gonna miss so many trades. I'm sure you will also miss trades. But there is nothing we can do. We have to make a choice between high risk trading or keeping our cash. Shorting from the discount zone is dangerous. The second interest area is the EQ, the balance point. You'll see many times price reacts to 0.5 EQ point. This is a tradable area, but works better as a target or taking partial profits. If there is no significant imbalance above the EQ, yes, you may try it. The third area is the premium zone, one of the best places to look for a short position. If you can just support it with strong price actions such as imbalances, breaker blocks, order blocks, or support resistance flips, you will increase your chances. My final special interest area is the entry zone with the MSP or boss. It is also inside my premium zone. This area is generally called an extreme area because it is supported by possible order block and volume cluster. However, as I always say, we never know which one will work. You should always go into lowest time frames such as 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 minutes and find a strong market structure break before opening a position. Let's see the example. Let's remember our Forex example. Price in a strong downtrend in 3 hours time frame. A very strong and high quality break. I determine my premium and discount zones with the gain box. You can obviously notice the two giant imbalances. This is my gameplay area. This is where I'll be trading. When the time comes, I'm going to scalp or day trade inside this box, from the imbalance above to the imbalance below. Now let's check the 1 hour time frame. As you can see, the price finally comes into our premium zone from the 3 hours time frame. It also fully fills the 1 hour imbalance. Furthermore, it clears all the liquidity before it. It has all the fuels needed for a bearish movement, imbalance and liquidity. What I'm gonna do is open the low time frames and keep trading all possible break of structures in the low time frames. As you can see, I pointed out 4 possible trades inside the gameplay box. All have the same features. 3 of them are real and 1 of them is fake. I'll also teach you how to identify the fake break and avoid stop losses and reduce the number of stop hunts that you have. What do we have in common here with all the breaks? They are so fast and really strong. They leave dumping and large candlesticks behind. They leave imbalances behind. There are not many green bars to ring the dump. There are strong closing points below the breaks. Let's start with the first trade. As you can see, I draw the premium and discount zone. So my main interest is with the retracements to the premium area. What I look for is imbalances in the premium zone, so I can sell my house for an expensive price. And more importantly, there is an equal low here, an incredible price magnet and a price target. Eventually, the price traces back to the premium zone and taps the imbalance. This is where you should enter a trade. You can even go to lower time frames like 1, 2, 3 minutes to find micro MSB. Okay, the second trade, again the same thing. We keep repeating the same thing over and over and over again until the price reaches the mega imbalance below from the 3-hour time frame. Price traces back to the premium zone. There is not much imbalance, just a significant one around the EQ point. Another nice trade. Let's see the third trade. Strong breakout. Mega imbalance. Price traces back to the premium zone, touches the imbalance and falls. There are also equal lows as price magnets. As you notice, we repeated the same thing again. And the last trade, the fake break. Let's talk about this fake trade designed for stop hunts. First of all, if I did not check the high time frames and did not know that there is a giant imbalance from the 3 hours, I would definitely trade this. Look at this, extremely high quality break, leaving a giant imbalance. It is just a perfect 15 minutes trade. However, it is fake. It is designed to trap people. Why? Because mega 3 hours imbalance is the fuel for long. We are coming to the demand area in high time frames. And this is the end of my gameplay area. It is extremely risky once it touches the imbalance. Even if the mega trend is bearish, I do not take shorts from the high time frame demand areas. If the 3-hour imbalance fails to hold as demand, then I may consider further shorts. This is why I keep saying this. First, analyze high time frames, especially the left of your charts. Just go as much as you can, draw your imbalances, order blocks, and be aware of what is happening in the high time frames. I hope this clears why there are so many fake setups to hunt traders. Okay folks, another adventure ends here. As I mentioned before, 3 months of paper trading, 3 months of a small amount of cash or risk, 6 months of profitable experience. This is how you are going to improve your day trading and scalping skills. I hope you subscribe to the channel and like the video. Please take care and see you soon.